If you're tired of hearing Thelema explained through endless comparisons to other traditions, you are in the right place. In this video, I'm stripping away all of the clutter and explaining Thelema as it truly is, without the dogma, without the detours. If you enjoy this video, please like it and subscribe to this channel. Also, please consider supporting me on Patreon. I will leave a link to my Patreon in the description for this video. Now let's dive straight into the core essence of what Aleister Crowley was really teaching. I want to start by saying what I'm not doing in this video. I am not explaining Thelema in terms of other traditions, and I'm trying to do this with a minimum of dogma. I'm not explaining Thelema as a variation on the Golden Dawn. I'm not explaining Thelema as a subset of ceremonial magic. I am not explaining Thelema as a subset of occultism. I'm not explaining it as a variation of Kabbalah, and I'm not explaining it through the eyes of South Asian mysticism. I'm also not explaining Thelema as some kind of variation on modern self-help, such as when we try to understand doing your will as like finding the right job or purpose in life. And I'm not explaining it as some kind of warmed over Western philosophy where we talk all this mumbo jumbo about the absolute. I have explained Thelema this way in the past and in other videos, but that's not what I'm trying to do this time. This could be a little tricky because Crowley clearly did understand himself and what he was doing in relationship to all of those other things. Crowley did see himself as part of the Western occult tradition. That tradition was trying to establish a rational, natural religion. Crowley saw Thelema as the fulfillment of that dream of occultism. But in order to understand and evaluate that claim, we have to understand first what Thelema is in itself. Only then can we see and understand whether or not Thelema includes and transcends Islam and Buddhism, for instance. Thelema includes a theoretical and a practical part. There is a certain amount of theory that you have to accept and understand just to get going along the path. As you pursue the path of practice, those truths, those theoretical truths, deepen for you. A full understanding of them is only possible once you have reached the highest attainments of Thelemic spiritual practice. There are a few places where Crowley describes the theory and practice of Thelema succinctly. One of them is in the new comment on L137. Another one of them is in Liber 150. One Star in Sight goes into a lot more detail, but it describes a trajectory which is similar to what I'm going to talk about in this video. Thelemic theory says that each person has a spiritual essence or soul, which is called the star. The star transcends your personality and is immortal. It is aware of birth, life, and death, but it is not subject to them. So death does not have the same significance to the star that it has for you. From your perspective, death is the end of you. From the perspective of the star, death is just another event, like driving over a pothole. From this, you can infer that your consciousness is actually not the star or your true self. There are certain forms of mysticism in which your consciousness is like a spoke on a wheel of universal consciousness. But according to Thelemic theory, your true self is actually hidden within you. It's actually in what Crowley refers to as the unconscious. The goal of Thelema is to unite your ordinary sense of self with this deeper, unconscious sense of self and ultimately to unite with it. So what is the nature of this essence and where does it come from? Crowley is adamant that it is not a broken off piece of some higher, more comprehensive reality. I know someone who thinks that Crowley taught that there is only one consciousness. And so even though I experience myself as me right now, in another incarnation, I will in fact be you, or I already have been you. And so I am, in effect, speaking to myself right now. And because of this, we should all be nice to one another. That is very sweet. But that is actually not what Aleister Crowley taught. Crowley also taught that it is not true that all stars are separate from one another. Each star is individual, he said, but bound to the others by the law of Thelema. What he means is that you only need to concern yourself with your own essence, with your own star, with your own will. When it comes to how you should relate to other people, the answer to that is to be found in your own will, the experience of your own will, not through some kind of abstract theory. To put it another way, all you can know is your own experience. All you can know is the flow of energy and karma right now. That's what you have to work with. Anything else is too speculative or too sentimental to be useful. So how is a person to come to know their star, to know this will within themselves? It's actually a little bit different for each person, although the broad strokes are the same. There is an initial training which we might refer to as Thelemic virtue. You need to be free enough and you need to be self-responsible enough to be able to engage in a serious spiritual practice with some kind of regularity. This is also called figuring out your finite will. Your finite will is your function in this life. Sometimes people talk about the will like it's this abstract, mystical, subjective thing that only they can possibly intuit. The finite will is actually a lot closer to the ground than that. Knowing your finite will sets you on a foundation in life. It gives you necessary self-knowledge, and it sets a foundation for higher spiritual pursuits. But it's not the pinnacle of self-realization. It's just the beginning of the path. In his essay, Duty, Crowley says that each person at the beginning must discover what their true will is, and they should write it down in a single sentence. If this is something that you are struggling with and would like to do, you might be interested in Will Discovery. Will Discovery is a service that I offer where I work one-on-one with you to help you discover your finite will. I listen to the most formative and transformative experiences of your life. And as I do, I write down the patterns in those stories and between those stories that have eluded your grasp up until now. Once I've gathered together these patterns, you and I work together with those patterns to craft the will statement. This is an expression in a single sentence of what your finite will is. This is exactly what Crowley said in Duty that you have to do. If Will Discovery sounds like something you're interested in, click the link in the description for this video to see my availability. Now, in addition to this preliminary training in virtue, you also need to develop self-control and mastery over the body and mind. You need to be able to sit still. You need to be able to still your mind. You need to be able to concentrate. And you need to develop a kind of devotional practice because at the outset, you are relating to this star or essence of yourself as though it is another being. Crowley says that it is up to each person to create the ritual by means of which they do this, although he also gave us Liber Samekh and Liber 8 to do this. So to my mind, that says that there is a certain flexibility in how we are to go about this task. The first breakthrough to this secret or silent self is called the knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel. The room is filled with light, there is a scent of perfume, and your angel appears and gives you counsel. The angel or the true self is the source of your true will, and so knowledge and conversation should give you a deeper understanding of what you discovered in your finite will. Next, one must unite themselves with the angel. This is accomplished through another attainment, which is called crossing the abyss. Once you have crossed the abyss, you understand the true nature of birth, life, and death, and you are free to enjoy them without suffering. What started out as mere theory for you in the beginning now becomes living reality. I left out a lot of details, but this is the essence of what the Thelemic spiritual path is about. We can get super deep and nerdy about what Nuit, Hadit, and Rahor Kuit are. We can talk for hours about 0 equals 2 and how or whether it relates to Eastern mysticism or Kabbalah. We could sit here and geek out on the Thoth Tarot all day long. If we are in OTO, we can get into these deep discussions about what does the phallus mean? What does the sun mean? And what does the Christian Trinity signify? But until you have understood the core, the essence of what this is all about, all of those other discussions about symbols are bound to lead you astray. On the other hand, once you understand core theory, you realize, number one, Crowley didn't actually have that many ideas. Yeah, he wrote a lot, and he wrote about a lot of different things, but a person can only have so many essential insights. 2. The path is pretty straightforward. Everyone's favorite Crowley quote is that one about how each person has to cut their own way through the jungle. In fact, Crowley did think that the path was going to be unique to each individual, even though there are some common backstops. Each of us is going up the mountain differently, but it is the same mountain. If you don't have a grasp on what Thelema is really about, you're not even going to be climbing a mountain in the same country, let alone climbing the same mountain that Aleister Crowley did. And 3, a lot of the comparisons Crowley made between Thelema and other traditions turn out to be red herrings. The more you chase them, the more lost you become. If you're fascinated by whether Thelemic spiritual attainments have any relationship at all to Buddhist spiritual attainments, my suggestion to you is that you practice Thelema diligently and intensively for at least 5 years, experience some of the attainments yourself, and then go have a conversation with a Buddhist practitioner who has practiced for a similar amount of time. You're going to learn a hell of a lot more that way than you are trying to match these things up on paper. In fact, I would guess there's close to nothing to be gained from matching it up on paper because Aleister Crowley's understanding of Eastern mysticism was too idiosyncratic to be useful. So what do you think? Did I capture the essence of Thelema in this video? Did I leave something essential out? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video, there's a really good chance you're going to like this video as well. So please, go check it out. And until next time, love is the law, love under will.